On the Kodiak Life Protection Systems Combatives Orange Belt exam, we introduce psychological ideas to help us overcome in a self-defense situation. And we begin with Colonel Jeff Cooper's ideas on personal protection and personal defense. The first thing we look at is what are called Cooper's color codes, or Cooper's codes. And what this is talking about, each one of these color codes represents a type of situational awareness. Situational awareness is not just paying attention, but is knowing what to pay attention to. White, yellow, orange, red, and then black. Now I do want to make a point, because somebody will say it if I don't. Black was never one of Colonel Cooper's original colors. It's a color that in recent years has been added in to represent a different mental stage. But each one of these represents a mental stage that people are in. White is what we call unaware and oblivious. This is where most people live their life. They live unaware of their surroundings, unaware of what's going on. Their face is in their phone, their face is in their iPad. Even when they're driving, they're not even paying attention to what they're doing. People live unaware and oblivious. And what this chart is all about learning is learning not to live in condition white. Not to live in such a way that we would be oblivious to what's going on around us. Instead, we want to live in condition yellow. Yellow is aware but relaxed. We don't want to live constantly in a state of fear where we're walking around in some type of a panic mode because we'll give ourselves an ulcer. But we do want to be aware of what's going on. We want to pay attention to people walking by, pay attention to people who are getting close to us. We want to be paying attention to those things that are going on around us. So condition yellow means we're aware, but we're relaxed. And it's the way that we should be in most of our life. Aware, but relaxed. The third is orange. Orange is alert. We are alert to a potential problem. Somebody's approaching us that we don't know, and we don't know how he's going to interact with us. Perhaps he is a potential thief or robber. Perhaps this person is a potential, wants to hurt us in some way. Perhaps they're just coming up to ask us a question. You don't know, but you're alert that that person is coming at you. The most dangerous situation that often happens to people is they're in condition white. Somebody gets right up close to them. They didn't even see the person coming. They look up, and the person's automatically there. There's a video online, which is very funny, of a guy who's texting, and he walks right into a bear. There was a bear loose in his neighborhood. There was a helicopter watching the bear, following the bear. It's a news helicopter. This guy's texting, walks right into the bear, didn't even see it. Thankfully, the bear didn't pay him any mind, and he was able to run away. But the reality is, we need to be living, looking around, paying attention to what's going on around us, paying attention to people around us, so that we can see if someone approaches us. So we live in yellow. If we see a threat, we move to orange. Okay, I've locked in on the potential threat. I'm paying attention to him. If he walks towards me, I'm going to go ahead and put my hands up. I'm going to go ahead and get my hands near my face. I'm going to go ahead and put my hands in the defense position. I'm going to be ready if he gets close to me, maintaining a gap between he and I. Red is engaged with the threat. All right, the threat has come forward. I'm in condition orange, and I see that he's got a knife. Now we're engaged. We're in the fight. And now I've got to deal with what I'm going to do in the fight. He walks up, I see him reaching into his pocket, and he's pulling out something shiny. I don't know what it is, but we're engaged at this point because it might be a gun, it might be a blade, who knows. Multiple people coming from multiple directions. Okay, we're engaged at this point. We're in the fight, and we have to deal with it. Condition black, again, wasn't part of one of Cooper's original codes. Condition black is mental shutdown. This is the person who begins, because of fear, to shut down. He begins to, tunnel vision begins to go black. He begins to where he can't hear anything. He can't barely see anything. He's been afraid for his life, and he's unable to defend himself very well. People who live in condition white often go straight to condition black when someone attacks them. Because the person's coming up, they didn't see him coming, they're playing with their iPod, they look up, they see a knife, it's a knife! And they haven't had any time to process that this is happening, and they immediately begin the process of mental shutdown, and they either freeze, or they go fetal, or something else because they're not ready to provide a good personal defense. So again, we live in condition yellow so that we can go through the stages of recognizing the threat and engaging the threat, rather than not recognizing the threat and ending up in mental shutdown. So that's Cooper's color codes. Now, Cooper also has the principles of personal defense. Now, this was a book that he wrote, which I recommend to you reading. It's a very short book. It's almost more like a pamphlet. It's less than, I think it's less than 50 pages. But his principles of defense, he said there are 7 principles of personal defense. Alertness, decisiveness, aggressiveness, speed, coolness, ruthlessness, and surprise. The first one, alertness, builds off of the color codes. If you think about it, you want to be alert so that if you have to defend yourself, these things can kick in. Because if you're not alert, if you're in condition white, again, you're going to go down to being in condition black, and none of this is going to matter. So let's go through these very quickly. Alertness is just what we've been talking about, paying attention to what's going on. Decisiveness. If something happens, we need to be able to make that decision to engage or to retreat. We need to be able to be prepared and trained enough that we can engage with that attacker and deal with him. Aggressiveness. Todd Rossa said this best. If you mean to do it mean. If you've got to defend yourself, it's not going to help you to do it nicely. You've got to be aggressive. You've got to be able to release the bear within. That's the whole Kodiak idea, Kodiak Life Protection Systems. That we have this bear within us, and we've got to release that bear and be aggressive at that moment that we need to. Speed. We can't do this slowly. We've got to act, and we've got to act quickly. Coolness. We've got to keep our head in the midst of this dangerous situation. One of the stories that Colonel Cooper tells in his book is that one of his students was going home at night, pulled into a driveway, got out of his car, and as he got out of his car, he sees 2 thugs coming at him with guns. So Colonel Cooper's student, aggressive-minded, as he'd been trained, grabs his sidearm, steps out of the car, and starts shooting. Blam, 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 blam. Didn't hit anything. Now, thankfully, the thugs went the other way, because when lead was flying in their direction, they didn't want to fight. They wanted to run. But he didn't hit anything. Why didn't he hit anything? Because he lost his cool at that moment. He lost his focus on shooting because, again, his adrenaline went up and his ability to maintain proper sight picture and all those things which is necessary for marksmanship went down. So, and that happens a lot. That story is very common, that people just draw and shoot and they don't hit because in that moment they lose their cool. That's why he says coolness, keeping your head under pressure, very, very valuable in personal defense. Ruthlessness. Again, like aggressiveness, if you mean to do it mean. Some of the techniques in Kodiak Life Protection System will say, jab them in the eye, stomp them in the groin, hyperextend a joint. And somebody might say, well, that's mean. But at the same time, it's what is necessary for personal protection. To be ruthless for that moment. To be violent in that moment. Think about the bear, which is our patch. Bears are not necessarily violent creatures. But at the moments when they are attacked, they become the most ruthless creatures in all the forest. And that's what we have to be able to do. Release the bear within. Finally, surprise. Surprise is very valuable. If someone is going to attack me, if I can do anything that would surprise them, throw sand in their face, spit in their face, hit them with my cell phone, hit them with my bottle of water, anything that I could do to reset their mental process, to change the channels in their mind, to get them thinking about something else. That's what I want to do. I want to surprise my attacker by attacking him first. If he's coming at me and I know he's going to hurt me, I want my attack to surprise him. So again, we have Cooper's color codes, Cooper's principles of personal defense. These are both to be understood and explained for the Kodiak Life Protection Systems Orange Belt Test.